And
We're live?
we're live. I don't know
Question.
why I don't know why I just did like a weird Transylvanian thing.
It's because you don't have a standard opening yet.
I know. I feel so derivative whenever I say we're live. That's why I usually let Amelia do that. Like she's better at it and she like can capture April's intensity.
There's a lot
Um,
of that.
I'm gonna tweet this out too because no one's on.
No one's
Um,
on. It's just you and me.
which is fine, you know. Oh man, so somebody at the end of the show, at the end of the SPSM show, actually tweeted out an image of Atreyu writing Falcor, which is amazing.
I love
Because
Falcor.
fucking never-ending story.
Right.
What am I doing? What am I doing? What are we doing? What are we doing tonight?
I don't know. We're talking to each other.
So
Bitches.
Dr. Ali Matu came on the main SPSM show and had a lot of really cool stuff to say about science fiction and how it integrates with psychology and mental health and suicide prevention. He shared his amazing story of loss processing and recovery. Loss processing sounds like something that happens when you lose something at a mall. Loss assessing. But his very touching story about the loss of his brother and how he used science fiction as a way to cope and start to recover. And so, I mean, damn, there was just so much in this show.
Yeah.
So much.
Bart also shared a similar story about his uncle, and it was just like,
yeah. Yeah.
It was really good and it was real. I don't know. I identify with it too. You know, the people you lose and the things that you attach to them. And I'm a sentimental person, so I always have something, and then I'll come across it, and I'll be like, "Oh shit!" You know, remember that time. So, yeah, I think the science fiction route is really, it's interesting, and it's just a novel way to think about it. Similar to the games thing we're doing, you know, it's a whole different, not a whole different community of people or a novel community. That's actually a really shitty thing to say just because I'm not interested in it. It's like, oh, it's novel. No, it's not. I'm just not in that, whatever, you know. But
yeah.
I guess because it's outside of the standard, you know, to write love on her arms or live through this, even like whatever the campaigns are that people tend to like. But then you find it in these genres like sci-fi where you can kind of detach a little and explore that without it feeling too real. I think that's really cool.
And I loved, what'd you say?
It just hadn't occurred to me.
And I love the idea that that it's more subtle. You know, like there's definitely a place, and I think that we have to do a lot of work in making suicide prevention and mental health and mental wellness a thing that's like really loud, because it is covered with prejudice and discrimination.
Yeah.
But science fiction does this magic that I think Bart kind of outlined a lot in a really perfect way, and then Ali actually talked about it a little bit too, in that it subverts a lot of weird cultural pressures that we feel in our everyday lives. So it basically rides under that radar, and it says, well, this is not entirely realistic. And so it's possible that this kind of alternate reality where people talk about their emotions and potential suicide ideation, or altruism or caring about people or compassion or these things that are so weirdly bottled up and full of intrinsic pressure.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's way more subtle, I guess, is where I'm coming from.
Yes.
And it makes it more powerful than when a story kind of wraps up and you start saying, oh shit, they've been they've been force feeding us this moral this entire time, and I didn't even notice, and now I'm a better person.
Wow. Got a few people we can force feed some shit to this week, huh? Some morals. You take these fucking morals. I was talking on the Twitter feed briefly when I was on it for 10 minutes about how I feel like I don't really consume sci-fi, and Shane Owens was like, yeah, you totally do. And then I thought about it. I'm like, yeah, I guess I do. But it's not my go-to, you know. I'm like, I read YA romances. You know, or memoirs or something.
Twilight is totally sci-fi.
I guess that's true, and I've totally read every fucking Twilight book because I'm a loser.
There you go.
I also own The Psychology of Twilight.
Okay, so that gives you a little bit of credibility.
I mean, they're interesting characters, even though the writing's awful. But I was thinking about Sense8 a second ago because Phil brought it up, and how the whole premise of the existence of these characters is based on suicide. You know, in the first 5 minutes of the first episode, the mother character, I guess, kills herself. And then there's this slimy romance with suicide that every character has in every episode. And it's really intense. It's really intense. It's actually really hard to watch sometimes.
So the entire premise is based on a mechanism in which they kill themselves, and then.
So I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I watched it. There are like 8 people who are connected through their senses, and the mother character. There are people who are after them or something, and the only way, like, I think it's if they get into your mind or something. The only way to escape that, obviously, is to kill yourself. Duh.
Okay.
I may not be recalling that completely correctly, but there are just lots of scenes with characters like mouthing guns and a lot of masturbatory. You did say this is going to be a high energy episode.
So high energy.
We're like.
So glad that everybody joined. But that actually, so that is doing something that is exactly opposite of what we were just talking about, and that using suicide or mental health or psychology more as a subtle way of exploring the ills of our society. This is like, no, this is actually a superpower that we have to use. Or something along those lines. It's actually a plot device. It's a mechanic inside the script that is being used.
Yeah, and usually it's not being used in a really useful way.
And that was what I was going to ask, is, you know, how do they address that then? Like, how is that? Is that it? Do they come back? I mean, don't spoil anything.
No, you know, the character who starts it doesn't. I don't think. God, I have the worst memory. I'm pretty sure she doesn't, but she's like the origin of all of these other characters who then come face to face with this, you know, do I go or do I stay and fight or find another way out or something.
Right.
But that's always there for each of those characters. It's always there. They're like, I have this option.
So like everybody else.
Yeah, but almost a little more. It's like it's required. It's required of them to have these thoughts in a way that, like, I mean, I identify with it because, you know, the moment something goes wrong, I'm like, I could just, you know, I could just go.
Right.
Usually for them, it's like in some high drama scenario, but it's always there. It's like, well, I could just kill myself and this will be all over.
Right. Or I'm in serious physical danger. The only way that I can escape this is by killing myself. Which for people who experience thoughts of suicide, that can be a very legitimate emotion.
Totally. It's real.
Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking through it, it's like when you're watching it, because it's sci-fi, it doesn't feel super relatable because they're like on a mountain peak somewhere, or like throwing people off cliffs and shit. And they're like, well, I could escape this way. But it's true. That's real life. Whatever you happen to be struggling with, if you are prone to suicidal thoughts, it's like, well, I'm here and I'm an option.
It's its own character. It's its own character.
Yes, kind of. I've named my suicidal thoughts George.
Okay.
I have not done that. I was lying. I'm glad that you were like, yeah, okay, tell me more about that.
George sounds like an asshole.
George is an asshole.
So, but so that's no. It's.
Are you sure you don't want to be a therapist? Like
fuck George. But okay, so the other, I mean, like what that's really interesting. So the suicide basically becomes its own character, but it's also so pervasive in the series, or at least something that's like kind of right here. These are big headphones, but it's always like kind of right here.
Yeah.
And so does it normalize it at all? I mean, I get that it's still sci-fi. Yeah. It's still okay. So but in a
totally normal for these characters.
Okay.
God, I wish Fel was actually paying attention, because she actually has a better memory for plot points than I do. It is normal. I mean, like I said, it's right there. It's right there at all times. I don't know that it really furthers the plot, though. It just feels like I have this escape hatch, which is kind of a normal thought, I think, for me, like we were saying. But, like I said, it's kind of masturbatory. There's this one scene with a character and a gun, and it lasts like 6 minutes. I think I timed it.
God.
And it was just like,
yeah,
like watching it made me ragey.
Yeah, and if it's not being paired with anything that's like helpful.
No, definitely not. It's not often paired with something helpful on TV, I don't feel like.
But even in the sense that, like, so in some circumstances, somebody will have a thought of suicide, and then their family will be like, "Oh, we're gonna get you help" or whatever, and it's surprise, and it's like used as a plot device.
Yep.
But sometimes there's like oh my God, you see the aftermath of somebody dying, or you see how it affected certain people in certain ways. There's something there.
Yeah.
But with this, it just seems like, yeah, they're gonna kill
expected. Yeah, it's expected. Yeah. It's not something you go seek help for. It's just a way to escape the villains of the show. And usually, I don't believe there have been any actual suicides other than the first character, but it's just kind of this constant.
Yeah.
Everything kind of leads back to that. And
so everything's under the umbrella.
Yeah.
Suicide. Like, it's just right here everything kind of is
based off time. Every single episode.
That sounds delightful.
I mean, we really enjoyed the show, but yeah, it's a little heavy-handed with the suicide stuff.
The old suicide stuff. Are there so I mean, like, sci-fi does a really good job of exploring these like larger social issues, these larger human questions that we have, and then sometimes it doesn't do it that well. But are there other, like, we've had a lot of conversations about how horror movies tend to fuck up suicide, like, really bad, like really bad. I don't think that I've ever seen a horror movie that was like, oh, this suicide actually, it was prevented, and everything was fine, or that this happened and then somebody sought help after for their grief. It's never that. It's like,
that would be a drama.
Right. It's,
What is that one that I saw? Oh, Lights Out.
yes.
Yeah. I don't know how that wasn't obvious to me before I walked into the theater, but hey, a little slow on the uptake sometimes. Dolly, no. She's trying to eat my chicken wings. So it was that, the Babadook, there's like a kind of like a metaphorical suicide thing that happens, right?
I hated that movie. I'm sorry if anybody. I'm sorry if anybody enjoyed that one, but that talk about heavy-handed.
Babadook.
Ooh, I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm not gonna spoil it, but it just pissed me off. And in a really like, I can't say anything without spoiling it. But there are just ways that you don't categorize or characterize mental health issues that makes them literally a fucking monster.
I mean,
I get it for
George
some people
is a monster, Chris.
For people who experience them, yes, that may be one thing, but it's not maybe. I don't know. I feel like there may be more sensitive ways to portray it to the general public.
Potentially.
I get that, without that, it's not shocking, and you don't get this lady hiding in the basement. Oh God, I hated that movie.
You and your touchy-feely shit. Healing, hope, and help. Come on. What do you think this is?
You know my messaging guidelines.
I do know your messaging. There was that other one recently, I think, based on the suicide forest in Japan.
Oh God, yeah.
And I remember the promo thing in the theaters was like a hanging person from a news thing, and it's like, that's cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And I haven't seen that movie yet, unfortunately for us. Unfortunately.
Did you just like angrily crumple something?
No, Fell's eating M&Ms.
Okay.
Angrily crumpled.
Yeah, no, I saw the poster for that, and it keeps popping up on on Amazon or whatever. It's like rent me, and I'm like, fuck you. I'm not watching a movie where the entire purpose is to. I don't even know what it is. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Like there's this mythical forest in Japan where people go to kill themselves, and that's awful and terrible. But so let's make a movie about it.
Right.
And what can we do? We can glamorize, and we can make a big deal out of a terrible way to kill yourself, and then mash it into a horror movie.
Yeah, I mean the reality is horror enough. You don't need to.
Right. Right.
Emphasize that. That also makes me think of that pair of movies that's coming out. We've moved away from sci-fi, it seems.
Christine.
Yes, Christine and Katie plays Christine or whatever it's called. There are two of them, and they both came out together. I will see both of those movies because I'm an asshole. I will. I'm gonna admit it. But
wait, why does that make you an asshole? Like,
because it's gonna be bad. I'm gonna leave the theater or I'm gonna rent it or whatever, and I'm gonna be like, motherfucker. Like, there's not.
I have to go type shit immediately.
Like,
I am going to
mash my keyboard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. I was reading about the movies, and I was reading that the video has never been released, but I swear I've seen that video because 17-year-old baby me loved that shit. I was such a creeper, and I was so into it, and I think that was the way I processed a lot of what I was going through. Was like, how much of the reality of this can I take?
Yeah.
But I guess I have never seen it. I know I've seen the senator, the Pennsylvania senator. I can't remember. But
yeah, that one is.
It's a lot.
Bedwire. Yep.
And it's the same thing. And what's really interesting about it is suicide in the media. Like what do you do when you're actually faced with it? I don't know. That one was really crazy. I think I told you I listened to a podcast where they played the audio
Oh God.
of Bud Dwyer. And I mean, this
That one.
guy, like, I'm terrible because I listen to his podcast all the time, but I hate him so much. Like, we've had Twitter battles. We have blocked each other on Twitter.
It's real mature.
Yes, because I'm like, why can't you talk about suicide in a way that is not infuriating? And he doesn't want to hear that. But he, when he did that episode, it was when the journalists were murdered by that, the guy who filmed it. And he brought up Bud Dwyer first. So he like played the press conference and then he stopped and he like talked. And I was like, oh, that's really nice that he didn't play the part, you know, he didn't play the thing. And then there it was. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, when you are expecting
what I was saying.
when you're expecting to go into something like that for entertainment, and again, it's that surprise suicide bullshit. It's unacceptable. And then on top of that, like surprise, irresponsible depiction of suicide.
Oh yeah.
And all you do is set people off. It's not trigger people.
Yeah. But what's a good depiction of suicide? That's something we don't really go into too much. We yell at people a lot, but what's an appropriate depiction?
Like a responsible way to
How do you responsibly express this?
Don't show it.
You want to Alfred Hitchcock that shit?
Say it, yeah. Leave it. It's because of the implication. You leave it off. Yeah, you leave it off screen. Right?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is. I focus most of my energy on yelling at people, as you know, so I don't know the answer.
Okay, so are there helpful depictions? Not even necessarily depictions. That's probably the wrong word. But are there scenarios where talking about it in a very direct or maybe even graphic way can actually be used in a positive way? I mean, are there movies out there that do that?
I think that depends on the person, but I mean, I think about Skeleton Twins, and Skeleton Twins is very graphic, very scary suicide attempt scene in it, and you're watching it and you're like, but I came out of that feeling like, damn, they did a really good job.
Yeah.
Even though the characters don't necessarily talk to each other about it directly very much, it's just the way they relate to each other is so real. The brother and sister characters, and I mean, I really love that starship scene. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, that one's useful. And then I don't know. Talk about low energy. My memory sucks today more than usual.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about stuff that pisses us off?
Hey. Sure.
Yeah. So April addressed this.
But
I don't know. I'm sorry if I'm spoiling anything for anyone who hasn't been paying attention the last few days. But we have a new president-elect, and he is a male. That should tell you. That should tell you which candidate won. So, there was a really big. I mean, this is a thing. They talked about it on the main show a lot, in the sense that, or for a few minutes anyway, but in the sense that, like, this is something that we just in the context of an election cycle, this is something that we have never seen before. this type of an election has never happened. And it's more divisive than any election that has ever existed or has ever taken place before. There are fears generated by both sides and felt by both sides. I mean, what I saw some statistic late last week about that, like half of both parties are legitimately afraid of the other party.
Yeah.
So like 40% of liberals and conservatives are terrified of the existence of the other party, basically.
Is it the existence of the other party or the representatives
right.
of the parties?
The people. They're terrified of the people in the parties. The racists, the bigots, the pinkos, and the commies. We're all evil towards each other.
Yeah, I mean, I have a very real fear that like we're gonna live through another kind of McCarthy era in the United States, and I will be one of the pinko commies they try to blacklist.
Right. They're gonna try to take your internet away.
Take my internet away. Yeah, it's really, I don't know. It's been a really scary week, and the fucked up thing is that when Bernie didn't win, I knew who would win the election. And I maintained that feeling for a long time. And then I finally made my way aboard the Hillary train recently. I was like, okay, I have to do this. And I tried to find reasons to not feel like crap about it because she wasn't my first choice. And then I did, and I started looking at election forecasts, and I was like, okay, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And I realized when we got the election results and how devastated I was, I realized that even though I knew,
yeah,
I didn't really know. Like, I didn't allow myself to think about the implications of a Trump presidency, and then it all came flooding in at that moment, which was really scary. Right. But I do in kind of, I haven't been consuming like the TV media. I can't watch him yap. I can't watch Hillary. Like I can't watch it. Only read about it. But I'm definitely giggling a little watching him pick his terrifying cabinet and stuff because they're all establishment.
Oh yeah, no, I mean it's really been interesting to see this kind of play out, and you're absolutely right in avoiding the mainstream media.
Can't do it.
We're so not mainstream media. But yeah, no, I mean all they're doing is replaying and analyzing, how his Tuesday went, how his Thursday went. It's like, shut up. So,
right.
I don't even know where I was going with this. I'm so mad, but not because anybody won or lost. I'm just frustrated that this really did become about. I felt anyway a horse race for the media, and I don't. It's such a trope to blame the media. But when you look at a lot of different things, so I made a few comments on this back in 2012, actually. But when
how do you remember what you said in 2012? I don't remember what I said yesterday.
Facebook memories.
Oh, for fuck's sake! Continue.
So back in 2012, they of course did this in the primaries this year, and they did it in the general debates this year. But back in 2012, in one of the first debates, they had, like sponsored by, I don't remember what channel it was on, but they had like sponsored by Degree deodorant, and had like these very intense looking pictures of both of the candidates, and they're like, and they did that again this year.
Yes, this was of him looking very stern. I see it, and I want to hit things. Like, just
this is
it. Continue your thought.
When you have a presidential debate, and I understand that within the media they have to be paid somehow.
But there was
However,
nothing productive about anything that happened in those debates.
but when you monetize it so much, and when you make it about like this is an MMA match now, it's not even. They're supposed to be talking about the policies that will affect and change people's lives, and yet they get up there and they talk about, I'm gonna kick this guy's ass harder than you're gonna kick this guy's ass.
Yeah, I mean,
and no like uncertain terms. It's not like I'm gonna talk about these sanctions and I'm gonna do these things. It's like no, I'm gonna kick his ass.
Yeah, it was really amazing to I never watched any of the debates. I only watched clips of them because again, I couldn't deal with that. But to watch the clips of the debates that I did juxtaposed with Bush and Clinton back in the day, I was like, wow, politics sure have changed in 20 years. A lot. And we used to think they were so horrible, in the ways that they dealt with each other. And it's like, pussycats. Like, we want them to tear each other apart. And I don't know why we've become that kind of society. And even now, the people, there's this outpouring of grief, like actual grief that's happening that I'm seeing on Facebook that I'm definitely doing my part with. And the people who voted for Trump or, whatever, it's just like, get over it. And it's this sore winner, sore loser thing. And it's like, that's not what this is about. And I've been really frustrated because, for the first couple of days, it was like I defriended everybody, basically. I just was defriending fucking people like left and right. Not just Trump people either, but just apathetic people too, because I might have more anger toward them. There might be a little more anger at the apathetic types.
Because at least the people who voted for Trump had like a cause and a reason.
They did their
justification. They did their civic duty.
Exercised their privilege as an American.
Where does your anger come from on that regarding the people who didn't vote?
Well, I mean, we now have a president that made a little less than a quarter of the country voted for, or maybe about a quarter of the country, because it was like 46% of people who didn't vote. That's not the will of the people. And even Hillary winning the popular vote, that might not be the will of the people either. We don't know what the will of the people is because the people are too fucking lazy to get off their asses on a Tuesday. This is our country. This is our everyday life. Like, it's one fucking day. Go get your sticker. And that's
isn't that why most people do it, is for the sticker?
Totally. Totes.
I mean, it, and I saw some that are coming out of New York, and they had the Statue of Liberty.
Ooh.
I mean, mine just said voted. I voted in Douglas County. I'm like, what is this?
I'm like, where's mine? It's in my journal, but I think it just said I voted.
I voted.
I definitely was like, so when do I get my sticker? But mainly so that I could kind of walk around and be like, hey, motherfuckers, you need to go vote.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if you can see this, but I put about 4 stickers.
My face says I voted. Please go do that. It's important. I mean, I still haven't spoken to my grandmother. She was like, I didn't vote. I don't fucking like Hillary. And I was like, so your distaste for a person means that you're okay possibly putting our nation in jeopardy? I have big problems. I was like, no, actually, you don't fucking have bigger problems, old woman. Like, your Social Security could go away now.
Mm-hmm.
I have anger. We were
How much
talking about
anger?
what pisses us off, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Apathy pisses me off.
This is a very interesting concept, and I think this could be where a lot of the strife and stress and pressure and anger comes from right now. It's not just like, yeah, the usual bullshit from partisan lines and back and forth and all that crap. That's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you legitimately have families who are ending their relationships or having infighting and bickering, and more so because this is more of a stressful and more intense election than ever before. I can say that.
In our lifetimes, anyway.
Yeah.
Our brief lifetimes.
Yeah.
As voters.
Right, as voters. Although, yeah, I mean, it's so this is the thing that I
time
think
voting.
outside.
I didn't think about it.
3.
See?
Yeah.
Our short lifetimes as voters.
And I've gone from literally the other end of the spectrum.
That's true.
So
who are you?
So this is I'm an imposter. But this is this is I don't know if you noticed this, but my lower third has a double S in it because I'm an imposter.
Ridiculous.
But no, so this is something that, like, if you have a family, and there are a lot of families out there who are already this close to, like, they know that their political views are different, and they know that the way that people live their lives is very different than how they might think that people should live their lives, and that conversation happens every fucking Thanksgiving.
Oh.
But it's never like right here every single day on the news, and you're not getting texts from your family about who did you vote for, why did you vote for them, oh, you did it wrong. Those kinds of things can really pile up, and I think could be a potential like extra stressor on top of the fuck cake that is 2016 election.
The fuck cake. I think 2016 on the whole could be a fuck cake because Donald Trump being elected president killed Leonard Cohen. Okay, and I am not cool with that. Like, I am not okay. No words.
Have that one. Have it.
I will take it. That motherfucker killed that Canadian genius. Okay. There are no more famous blue raincoats for us.
And I want to be very clear that I would call this election a fuck cake, regardless of who won.
Yes, absolutely.
I am not like I'm not trying to sugarcoat how terrible this election is.
Mm-hmm.
The entire cycle. It started a year and a half ago. It seems like it was like 3 years long.
Yeah, everything about it, every turn, like you said, the debates were a cage match. I mean, everything felt like a cage match. Even now, watching, I've rid myself of most of the apathetic people and a lot of the Trump voters, except for the ones that I feel like I can have a conversation with, which seems to be very few somehow. But
you sound surprised.
I had a family member who I have since befriended. He would just show up on a status and be like, Trump! And I'm like, okay, you, sir, have a gay second cousin, me, who presumably you care about. You have a daughter who is bisexual in an interracial heterosexual relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Sister, gay. And so I said, what's that about? Yeah. And the response, Trump. And I'm like, all right, no. But yeah, that's infuriating. But where I was actually going was something that's really pissing me off among my liberal friends, who are the only ones left, as you know, for now.
I mean, I'm going to say right up, though, that we're all assholes, too. So
Yes, and that is my point.
Everybody's an asshole.
That is my point. We are assholes, and but I'm seeing a lot of something I don't generally see. You know, we usually share current articles. We're always sharing like the newest thing.
Yeah.
Now I'm seeing people posting stuff about the Maryland Electoral College stuff, and that was an article from 2007. Someone yesterday posted something about a hate crime that happened, and it was very much like, I'm gonna fight against the Trumpers, or whatever the hell they're calling Trump people, and
Trumpians.
Trump. Okay, I'm gonna fight against those people and these hate crimes. And then I look at the article, the date on the article, and it's like, this happened before the election. Like, can we not fucking make this worse? I think it's already plenty bad. There's division within the parties. There's division, there's so much divisiveness. Like, we don't need to add extra shit to the heaping fucking dumpster fire that is this week.
Yeah. And I think that says, again, another big piece about how social media played a massive role in this election. It allowed and I know that Zuckerberg denies this, but it allowed the dissemination of so much inaccurate news and blatantly fake news.
Yes.
That, I mean, this kind of shit happened the entire election cycle.
Yes.
And people were re-traumatized by it over and over and over and over again. So this is like being assaulted or abused for a year and a half. Every single day you wake up and you open your social media, and then finally one day it's all supposed to end, and guess what? It's still fucking happening.
And it's 10 times worse.
Exactly, because now the winner, and I'm not going to say that it would be any different if Hillary had won,
right?
Because I think it could have easily played out the exact same way.
I agree.
But now the winner has a quote unquote mandate, because they are using that term. Kellyanne Conway has said that they now have a mandate with that quarter of the population who voted for him. They have a mandate now, and so that gives the winners the right to basically say whatever the fuck they want without any sort of hesitation. And again, I want to qualify that in saying that I think if Hillary had won, a lot of her supporters probably would have behaved in the exact same way. So now that trauma and that abuse and that bullshit is still happening on social media, because nobody wants to look at when something was published. Because I tell you what,
so difficult.
Fucking 90% of the people that post these stupid fucking articles don't actually read them. They read the headline and then they go, that offended me, and I am going to post it, and I am not going to read it because I don't need to.
That fucking headline. That's why I made the headline that I did with that piece I wrote.
I loved that. I loved it.
Because I knew that it was going to get the exact people that I wanted to read it. I have not read the comment.
What was the title? What was the title for those who haven't read it?
Something like "Stop." God, what's wrong with me?
No, it was like stop whining.
Election victory and get over it already, because that's a lot of what we've been hearing. Yeah, I totally clickbaited those fuckers, because it's just like, we can't read, we can't look at dates. Like, I cannot tell you how many times over the past week I've seen someone post something, I've read it, and I've had to go to Snopes and make sure that it was true.
Yeah.
Someone posted something yesterday about how a man was beaten to death in Philadelphia, and they made it seem like it had something to do with Trump. And I was just like, Snopes. It's real. And it wasn't real. And it's like, why? Why is this necessary?
You have the same ability to Google something that I do. This is not rocket science. Google makes billions of dollars every day because it's not rocket science. Because mice can Google something.
Let me Google that for you exists for a reason.
Right. And I had to snoop something today, or snope something today. Not snoop. I always snoop. I'm a snooper. But no, I always I had to do that. I had to do that today, based on this really shitty meme that had Kurt Cobain, and he had supposedly said a quote where he was predicting the presidency of Donald Trump. I'm like, I don't think Kurt Cobain gave a shit about Donald Trump, and I doubt that he would have said anything about an election.
For fuck's sake.
I have a lot of knowledge in the Nirvana and Kurt Cobain realm, and I can guarantee you this is bullshit. And so I went and I snoped it, and they're like, "Yeah, fuck you." It was a meme that was started back in June by a Facebook group called the Trump Train.
Oh man, the Trump Train. There's just so much that you can do with that.
But so much of this.
There's so many places to go.
I really want someone to make a get on the train, come on and ride remake, but with the Trump train.
No, you get out. You get out.
So this is what frustrates me, is that, yeah, I mean, so you have this ability. Social media is really good in a lot of circumstances. We talk about that, and it's really great for suicide prevention. It can be. There are definitely terms and places where it's good. However, I think in this kind of a circumstance, in this election, it was probably something that made it 10 times worse, if not thousands of times worse. And that it allowed people to quickly and immediately share things that satiated their need to confirm their own biases, like immediately.
Yep.
And then things go viral, and nobody bothers to look at this shitty black and white meme that doesn't have a citation, that literally has made up numbers and statistics. I mean, I can't count how many times I see those where I have to
all science made up numbers.
I'm just angry now.
Didn't you know that 6 people are intimately affected by each suicide?
You know what? I heard this. I heard this was very true. It's not true.
You heard it? It's more like 135.
Is that
That's where we are right now. It changes.
Okay.
You need to talk to Julie about what the fuck is happening there. But Julie, what are you doing? No, back on the topic of suicide, you and I were talking about this before we went live. There have been these claims that 8 trans youth died by suicide the night of the election. And I've seen a couple of articles that included that information, and everything is unsubstantiated. It's like, I heard this from a source, a trustworthy source, and the family doesn't want people to know. And it's like, all right, I get that. I believe that maybe this happened, but why are we reporting on it if we are not sure that it's true? Because again, that feels a lot like fear mongering to me. And then they tied it to something that is true, which is that call volumes have gone up among LGBT.
So you're creating a false correlate, or not even correlation, but an actual cause.
Correlation is not causation, as you know, because you have a bachelor's degree in psychology, correct?
I mean, I know words in statistics.
Group.
But yeah, when you falsely try to tie one thing, something that is not actually substantiated.
Yeah, it's been bugging me. I mean, I'm definitely, I have concerns. I have concerns about what this means for the LGBT community, the minority communities. Like, what if we do go into this horrible economic recession that people are saying we're going to with the Trump presidency? Then what if we do see a spike in suicides like we did it with the Great Depression? Like, why do we need to make this worse? Oh, we don't. It's bad already.
Right.
Yeah,
right. But no, I mean, so there are a lot of there are a lot of Trump supporters who are pointing to those kinds of things. There was a Muslim man who was a university student who admitted to faking a report And so people are pointing at those as excuses to ignore the feelings and emotions and experiences of everyone who is experiencing these things. And so that's what you're talking about. That's why that danger is so real, because if you start putting out stuff that is 100% validated, then we run the risk of invalidating everybody's experience.
Right. And, you know, a lot of people are responding to this with emotion, myself included. A lot of the stuff that I've written since then has been based on my emotions. And so you can't validate that past your own self.
Mm-hmm.
But people have all of this ammunition to be like, well, what you think doesn't fucking matter. And what you feel doesn't matter. And that's hard. That's hard to take. But also,
and when you have, okay, go ahead.
No, I was gonna continue.
Well, no, just that when you have people telling you how you should feel, but also how they know you feel.
Right.
Like, that's what frustrates me, is they're like, I know you feel, you know, upset or whatever.
Get over it.
But you shouldn't, because it's actually like you were fed these lies.
Right.
And if you just see it my way, and if you just read the same things I would, then all of your feelings would be relieved. In the process of doing that, you're simultaneously invalidating that person's own experiences and emotions.
Like a boss.
But then telling them that they're wrong.
Yeah.
That'll help.
Which is, I mean, that's something that's pretty consistent with the suicidal experience in general. People are telling you that you're wrong.
Yes.
That what
exactly.
you feel is not valid.
Exactly.
It's a pretty consistent feeling. I mean, to me, it feels very similar what I felt this week, and what I felt in the past when I've been suicidal. But I brought up those potential suicides and the reporting on them because I'm noticing, and it really got me this week, that there's just absolute silence among our community of experts.
Yes. Yep.
On this. You know, these stories are out there. Why am I the one, if so many people in our community think, well, she doesn't have a PhD, she just has lived experience, all of these things where, again, there's some level of invalidation. Where are the experts? I'm an expert too, but like, where are the experts? Like, where are they? Why is nobody saying anything? Why?
Where are the people at the top? Okay, so
where are they? Like, we all need to be saying shit.
But this isn't the first time that this exact same thing has happened.
Oh, I can think of like 3 in the past month.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
And I'm finding, as my wife likes to say, like, why are you making yourself the whipping boy? Why are you the one who's always bringing shit up? Why are you the one who's always complaining? You know, people think you're passionate and they think you're angry and it makes you look bad. And it's like, yeah, but that's my job. Like, nobody's doing it really. But like Chelsea Manning, nobody said anything. The university students who are being silenced, nobody's saying anything. Where are the major organizations? Where are they? Why do they not have a voice in this?
Okay. As with every single other thing in this fucking country that I love and adore.
Not today, I don't.
Because I'm a goddamn patriot.
Yeah.
But like everything else in this country, follow the money. If someone is not talking about something, it's probably because there's a very specific funding source that either makes it very difficult or doesn't allow them to say the things that you are so free to talk about. And we've talked about that before.
I know.
Which is why, yeah, which is, oh, I love that shirt. I so fucking love that shirt.
I love my ability to just make fucking shirts whenever I want to.
Right. So for anybody who's the one person who's watching, I'm sorry. But the no, the night that happened on the debate where he at the very end says, "What a nasty woman." Des texts me and is like, "Okay, holy shit, I'm making these 6 shirts. We're doing this today. It's going to be amazing." And I'm like, "Fucking do it."
I wasn't actually going to make them. I just made the designs, and then someone was like, "No, you really need to make them." And I was like, "All right, fine."
They were like already on there within 8 hours. They were.
Yeah, it was like the next morning. I did it.
Yeah. But that is part of the. I don't know. I don't want to put too much fucking pressure on you, but like that's a lot of what makes you as powerful, and what makes what you do so powerful is that you're one of very few people who can actually say what the fuck they want to say. Yeah, sorry.
I hate it.
Sorry.
I mean, I like it, obviously. Like I like being able to have that freedom. But sometimes it sucks, you know? It's like,
but I think, yeah.
I just feel like the silence can be really detrimental. And so, you know, you hear in one ear people being like, "Oh, well, the suicide rate's just rising," and blah, 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 blah. And they're, you know, they're doing their work and they're in their world and whatever. But when they're being called upon to use their voices for something that is really important, it's just like radio silence.
And I do think that, because I dealt with this on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you do have certain guidelines and certain things that you have to pay attention to, there are sensitive ways to still show support for the people who need it, and including you. I mean, when you wrote that thing on the AAS listserv pleading for people to lend support, the least they could do is say, "Thank you for your message. I agree."
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I'm not bad mouthing anybody, and I think everybody is amazing and great. But there's always something that you can do, and I think that even if it's personal and not professionally related, it still holds water and still shows enough solidarity to accomplish something.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this the other day. I took what I wrote for the listserv and kind of built on it and put it on Huffington Post, and I was hoping that people in our community would share it, and it didn't really happen for us, and I'm just really curious about that. There's just a lack of engagement overall in a lot of ways that is very confusing, especially when it's like we are a part of this community of people who's constantly creating content. Right.
Well, and we're constantly on the verge of adaptation, and we are so flexible when it comes to how we communicate with people and why, and so to see everybody else kind of just, I'm gonna live back here about 5-10 years and just kind of, you know, can you pull out your Rolodex and find that number for that person? You got the, I'm trying to find this book. Does anybody here know how to use the Dewey Decimal System?
What's that? That was good.
It's I didn't know if you were fucking with me or not.
Bitch, I have 5 years on you.
I know.
I actually had to use it. Okay.
I did too when I was in.
Yeah, get out.
I don't know. Hey, it's 11:02. We've tortured these people enough. What are your final thoughts? If you even, I mean, whatever. It's whatever.
Look at dates on shit. I don't know. Just like fact check. If you're gonna have a feeling, or not even, if you're gonna have a feeling, that's a fact. That's a fact in your life. But if you're gonna share some shit and you're gonna talk about all your knowledge about shit, look at dates, fact check, check Snopes. I don't know. Make Snopes your homepage. Screw Google. Make Snopes your homepage.
Snopes, is the sun out today?
Snopes.
Snopes. Is there weather?
Is this what you Google?
Snopes.
I would love to see your Google search history now.
Snopes, when is Taco Bell open?
All the time, forever, especially now.
My final thought is,
Maybe yours is more coherent than mine.
I doubt it. It's just still full of rage. Use critical thinking. It's very similar to yours. Like, use critical thinking when you're posting something, or when you're talking to someone, or when you and combine that with compassion. For the love of God, respect to the person that you're talking to. And I don't give a shit which political side you are on. I don't care if you voted or not. If you are not being respectful to the human that you're talking to, the point that you're trying to make is going to be lost. And all you're going to do is further the divide and further hurt the relationships that we all can have with each other in this country. And it's going to take us, and I'm sorry that this is, again, tropey, but we're going to have to work together. This is like going to your
unity shit, America. Get out.
This is going to, it's like going to that kind of weird uncle's house that you're not real sure about. He's got like 6 dogs and like 1 cat, and sometimes they bite each other, and they'll like bite you, and they have fleas. It's like going to his house to eat like zucchini salad.
Fel just said, "Is that our house?"
But you have to go there, and you have to like help him, mow his lawn or whatever. There are certain things in this country that we have to do together, whether we like to or not. And one of those is using compassion and critical thinking skills when talking to other people. Because good God, if I have to Snopes one more thing for anyone.
Hey,
sorry.
What were the 3 rules we had? Don't be a dick
excellent.
was number 2, I believe.
Don't be a dick was number 1.
Was it?
Listen was number 2. And then number 3, I think, is either there are no steps, or don't be a dick again.
Yeah.
So I think the first 2 are the biggest ones, right? Like, don't be a dick and listen. Just listen.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you can talk too, but don't be a dick when you do.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody the other day, and we've heard this before, but like, don't just don't wait until it's your turn to talk. I think actually Greta may have said something along these lines.
Mm-hmm.
Don't wait until it's your turn to talk. Listen. Right?
Yep. Truth.
That's all I got.
I have a question.
Okay.
That uncle that you described, can you tell me about him? Is he real?
No, he's not real. I totally made that
Damn
up.
it. You suck.
Sounds like a great guy.
She said he sounds like a great time.
He's got a PlayStation 2 and a Sega Genesis, and that's all he does. So he's a fun guy.
Related, I'm getting a Nintendo.
We're still recording, by the way. I don't know if this is.
Hey, we are presenting at South by on video games and suicide, so it's relevant to our interests here.
Yeah, absolutely. We are doing a really cool panel session at South by Southwest on March 18th.
18th, yes, March 18th, second to last day of South by.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna talk about suicide in video games and how game makers can use compassion, and how they can build in good storylines that aren't just shackers. Like, what is the one? The rain one. Heavy Rain.
Heavy Rain.
We don't want storylines like Heavy Rain. But
game developers.
Don't
be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be dicks.
Listen. give us resources after we play your game with a heavy suicide plotline.
Don't give away the entire panel presentation.
Hey, you know what? We have no idea what we're gonna say, so that's as far as we've gotten.
That's it. That's it. That's why it's only 30 seconds long so far.
Yeah, I mean, I made a beautiful PowerPoint for it, but that's about what we know. And I'm getting a Nintendo.
Amazing. All right, let's get rid of these people.
Okay, bye, people. Sorry about. Just sorry.
So sorry. Good night. Why do we end our show with
Good
sorry?
night and good luck.
Sorry every time.
I think
No,
really
but truly,
don't we?
truly, thank you everyone who showed up and stayed extra late with us tonight at hashtag SBS Unpacked. If you want to see this happen again, text us, tweet us, do whatever, and let us know.
Me at 867-5309, and
hey, wait a minute.
You will get a response.
All right.
Sorry.
Go home. Go to sleep.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Good night.